morning, beautiful people. My name is Sissy, and I'm Timothy's widow. This morning, grab a cup of coffee and come sit with me for a little bit while we discuss why this one job interview question is totally useless and horribly insensitive. So, you're asking, what is the one job interview question that hiring companies really need to stop asking? Well, that question usually gets worded something like this. What are your goals for the next 5 years? Or where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Now, as a widow looking to re-enter the workforce, I know that I'm looking for a job that I can use my previous skills and experiences. I'm looking for an employer that meets my current needs, such as a pleasant working environment, not a lot of internal conflict, not a lot of stress, and not a lot of overtime. Because the grief process is emotionally and physically challenging, and it takes a lot for us to be able to get back to being more normal, I guess you could say. So during a recent interview, I was asked repeatedly this very same question. Now, it was reworded various ways, multiple times. She asked me not once, not twice, but 3 different times in 3 different wordings. Why? What was the point? My life has changed drastically. My husband is still gone, and right now, I can't tell you what my goals are for the next 5 years. I was so frustrated I got to the point where I wanted to ask her, hey, do you have a crystal ball? Can you tell me with 100% accuracy where you will be at in 5 years? What will you be doing? How is your life going? So what are the factors that can come into play that make this question useless and horribly insensitive? Well, you see, none of us has a crystal ball. We do not have the ability to 100% accurately predict what our lives are going to be like, say, by the end of tomorrow, or by the end of next week, or even within the next 5 years. You see, there's this thing called unpredictable life circumstances, and these are things that can literally change your life in a heartbeat. Unforeseen circumstances, loss of a loved one, unexpected illness, relationship breakups, financial adjustments, the loss of a job, or the need for a job with better pay or better benefits, changes in family dynamics, parental care, loss of a stepchild, or the sudden gain of a stepchild due to the changes within a family dynamic, relocation. Military spouses have to do this all the time. Parental care, the sudden need to move back home to take care of mom or dad. All of these are factors that can significantly influence our goals and long-range plans, making this question kind of irrelevant and even distressing for some individuals. Another factor that goes into making this question useless and insensitive would be individual timelines. You see, grief is not just isolated to somebody who has lost their spouse. Anybody going through any of the unforeseen circumstances that I just mentioned can be experiencing their own form of grief. And grief does not have a set timeline. Each person will cope and heal at their own pace. Setting a rigid time frame for long-term career goals might overlook the ongoing emotional journey that they are navigating, and this can potentially cause additional stress or anxiety. Any individual trying to adjust to these unforeseen circumstances may not even have had the time or the opportunity to establish new timelines for new goals. At the moment, they may be at a place of uncertainty and confusion. Trying to establish a timeline for long-term career goals may be very unsettling to them because they too are trying to navigate a new path for a new journey that they were not expecting to be on. Being asked this question is sort of like an invasion of privacy. It can feel very intrusive to some. If you're an individual going through unforeseen circumstances, you may not feel very comfortable suddenly having to go into detail about long range goals or the information as to why you're uncomfortable with it in an interview with a complete stranger. Another factor that comes into play, making this question useless and insensitive, would be the topic of career interruptions. Grieving spouses, or anyone who is experiencing grief related to an unforeseen circumstance, may find themselves suddenly having to return to the workforce after a significant career hiatus. Previously, they may not have had the need to work outside of the home, or they may have been in a caregiver situation. Asking them about long-range future goals overshadows the unique and very individual challenges that they are now navigating. At this time, they're not only trying to reestablish their professional life, they're trying to pull their personal life together as well. Being asked this question could potentially add unnecessary pressure and anxiety. Potentially, it could damage the progress that they are making with their own grief journey. When an individual is asked this question in a job interview, it can feel like all of those unforeseen and unexpected events are being slammed right back at them. It can resemble a personal assault, a reminder that we are now having to navigate a new life that we didn't want, nor were we properly prepared for. To many individuals, this question can trigger and affect the status of their mental health and healing, even if the interviewer didn't have that intention in mind when asking this question. Another factor that makes this question seem useless and horribly insensitive would be uncertain priorities. After the loss of a spouse, or while being in the middle of navigating unforeseen circumstances, priorities and perspectives have shifted, often quite dramatically. The person being interviewed at the time may be more focused, as they should be, on their emotional healing, adjusting to a new routine, or providing stability for their family, rather than setting specific long-range career goals. To put it in terms that anyone should be able to comprehend, the person is simply trying to navigate each day the best that they can by putting one foot forward at a time. They're taking the needed baby steps to move forward, and if this means the sudden need for a new job or a job change, that change is probably just one of many that have suddenly become necessary. At the time of an interview, prospective employees are just data on a resume, skills, date ranges, and previous employers. At the time of an interview, the hiring company knows next to nothing about you and your personal challenges. During a job interview, there is no need to repeatedly ask this question in multiple ways. Not only is it impolite, it's unprofessional. A hiring company should never make the interview seem solely focused on the replies to this question. Instead, they should be focusing on the skills and experience that you can be bringing to their organization. You may be asking yourself, what should I do if I'm asked this question in an interview? What should I do if I feel my emotions increase? What should I do if I feel myself hesitating because I'm not sure where my life is going right now? While there are no easy answers if you find yourself in this situation, I will share a little bit of my thought with you. Personally, I would like to see this question totally removed from all job interviews and replaced with alternative questions that would be less insensitive but would still be useful in making hiring determinations. It's obvious that many hiring companies currently lack the skill and education on how to proceed through an interview when there is grief involved. What you can do is know in advance of the interview that there is a strong possibility of being asked this question, So try to do your best to prepare ahead of time. Know in advance your comfort level in discussing your unique situation and your level of privacy concerns during the interview. Many individuals going through the grieving process may, after a time, feel as though others are turned off by the discussion of grief, and many find themselves going silent in public. They then take their grief home and melt down, privately and alone. Sadly, hiring companies and the people doing the interview process are completely out of touch as to what goes on with a grieving person. Until society overall becomes better educated about grief and the grief process, and they have reached a place where discussion of loss can be considered normal, I think the trend of being asked this question in job interviews is going to continue. Unfortunately, hiring companies and the individuals conducting the interviews will be bringing their own preconceived ideas to the interview process, which currently means that many people doing the interviews are going to see grieving individuals as broken. Until society is better equipped to know about and to deal effectively with these types of scenarios, it seems as though someone going through the grief process is going to be left with no other options than to fake it during the interview. That is, outwardly appear as though everything in their life is totally wonderful. Grieving individuals are also left with the possibility of keeping this part of an interview very guarded, utilizing very short replies, and often leaving discussion about their loss totally removed from the conversation. I know that I've experienced this question a lot myself recently, and I'm sure if you're out there interviewing for a job, you probably have as well. If you've had an experience with this, please be sure to like this video and comment on it if you feel that you are able to. I would love to hear more about it so we can discuss it and bring more awareness to it. Grief and the challenges of dealing with a loss should never impact the overall interview experience and should never be a topic that brings an interview to an abrupt end, with the prospective candidate feeling as though the very mention of a loss or the lack of long-range goals has just ended their chance at securing a position that they are very well qualified for and would probably excel at. Sadly, many grieving individuals will experience this, and yes, hiring company and interviewer, I am looking at you. We can tell when you've just abruptly shut us down as a candidate for your job. Until hiring companies can deal more effectively with mental health, grief, and the grief process, we're going to be left with this issue and this stupid question as a major struggle within the employment universe. If you are out there interviewing for a job, please know that I am cheering for you because you deserve to find a company that will value you overall because of your skills, experience, and determination. I've been Sissy. Until the next time, my friend, I'm wishing you love, light, and hope. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.